tonight in Richland County, where a murder trial ends before it ever begins. 31-year-old Taylor Wardlaw pled guilty to killing her boyfriend, 26-year-old Terrell Sims, in December of 2021.
December 2021, Columbia, South Carolina. A young mother appears on Facebook Live, her voice shaking, eyes red with tears. "Please," she begs, "help me find Terrell. He's been missing for 2 days. He wouldn't just leave us." She's holding a photo of her boyfriend, the father of her child, and pleading with the public to care. And they do. Volunteers form search parties. Flyers go up on telephone poles in convenience store windows. Neighbors and strangers alike join in, hoping to bring Terrell Sims home safe. At the center of it all is Taylor Wardlaw, heartbroken, determined, camera ready. But there's one problem. Taylor already knew where Terrell was because she killed him. As the city searched, she watched. As the cameras rolled, she lied. She wasn't just hiding a crime. She was controlling the story, step by step. And that brings us to a question that chills the soul. How could someone murder the person they claim to love and then organize search parties to find them? This isn't just a true crime story. It's a story about control, about manipulation, about what it means to wear a mask so well, even the people closest to you can't see through it. If you care about real stories that don't just reveal what happened, but help us understand why, then you're in the right place. Subscribe now to join a community that goes beyond the headlines. We study true crime to spot warning signs, protect each other, and make sure the truth never stays buried. This is the story of Terrell Sims and what Taylor Wardlaw did to him. Before the news cameras, before the search parties, before the headlines and heartbreak, there was just a man named Terrell Sims. He was 26 years old, a proud father, a twin brother, a man trying to do the right thing in a world that didn't always make it easy. To his family and friends, Terrell was more than just a name or a photo. He was the guy who walked into a room and made people smile. Not because he tried too hard, but because joy seemed to follow him. He wasn't loud, he wasn't flashy, but he had a way of making people feel safe, like they could breathe easier when he was around. Most of all, Terrell was a dad, a father of 4 kids, from different relationships, yes, but he never treated them like pieces of his life. They were the center of it, his world. Terrell made sure each one of his kids felt seen, whether it was walking his oldest to school, helping his second one learn music, taking his quiet middle child fishing, or rocking his youngest to sleep. He showed up, always. His apartment wasn't much, but it told you everything you needed to know about him. Crayon drawings covered the fridge. A big wall calendar marked birthdays, school events, custody weekends. His phone, filled with photos and videos, little moments he refused to forget. First steps, dance battles, Saturday pancakes, they all mattered to him. Life wasn't easy. Money was tight. Terrell worked wherever he could, construction, landscaping, even cleaning jobs when things got rough. He'd pick up extra shifts to make sure his kids had what they needed, especially around Christmas. A former coworker said, "He never asked for anything. He just worked harder." He didn't complain, not once. And when the world got heavy, Terrell turned to music. It wasn't just a hobby, it was his therapy. He called himself T and used a corner of his closet as a tiny studio. His songs weren't about fame, they were about life, fatherhood, stress, hope. He'd wait until the kids were asleep, then record his tracks, quietly pouring his heart into every line. He even had a dream, to leave something behind for his children. Not money, not stuff, but a voice, a sound, a reminder that their father lived, loved, and dreamed just like they do. He was building something small but powerful, a life, a legacy. His bond with his twin sister Marcella was unshakable. They were more than siblings. They were soulmates in a way only twins can understand. "Half of me is gone," Marcella said after his death. "When I hurt, he hurt. When I needed him, he just showed up." That's who Terrell was, a strong, silent type. Not perfect, but real. He made mistakes, like we all do, but he loved hard, and he gave everything he had to the people he cared about. Terrell Sims didn't ask for a spotlight. He asked for peace, for time with his children, for the space to create, love, and grow. He was still learning how to balance it all. Work, fatherhood, relationships, music, when his life was taken from him. And in the worst kind of twist, the person who took it was the one who was supposed to love him most. Terrell met Taylor Warlaw in 2018 at a friend's get-together in Colombia. It wasn't anything fancy, just music, drinks, and people laughing. But from the moment their eyes met, the energy between them was strong, fast, intense, and full of sparks. At first, it looked like love. Within a few months, they were living together. Their social media pages showed happy moments. Selfies on the couch, dinner dates, playful captions about building a life together. Friends commented with hearts and fire emojis. From the outside, it seemed like they had something solid. But behind the photos, things were different. The people closest to Terrell started noticing small changes. Taylor wasn't just loving, she was possessive. She needed to know where he was all the time. If he didn't answer her texts fast enough, she got angry. When he was with his other kids, she'd call repeatedly, sometimes even video calling just to make sure he was really with them. At first, Terrell brushed it off. He told friends she just cared too much. But caring turned into control. She began pulling him away from his support system. Friends stopped hearing from him. Family visits became less frequent. Marcella, his twin, said he was becoming harder to reach. "He was still my brother," she said, but something in his eyes had shifted. He wasn't laughing the same anymore. Taylor also took control over their finances. Terrell, who had always been careful with money, now had to explain every purchase. She questioned how much he spent on his other kids. Even his music, his one safe space, became monitored. Taylor insisted on being in the studio with him, said she needed to be there to support him, but really it was about watching him. Over time, Terrell started to shrink. He became quieter, nervous, always checking his phone, always trying to avoid an argument. He walked on eggshells, not knowing what might set her off. He apologized often, even when he hadn't done anything wrong. The confidence that once defined him was fading. To some, it may have looked like just another rocky relationship. But to those who knew him, especially Marcella, it was clear something wasn't right. Terrell was changing. Not because he wanted to, but because he was slowly being controlled. And the worst part? He hadn't even seen the danger yet. By 2020, the cracks in Terrell and Taylor's relationship had deepened. That year, Taylor accused Terrell of domestic violence. She told police he had pointed a gun at her while she was 9 months pregnant. Terrell denied the claims, said it never happened, but he was arrested and held in jail. He missed the birth of his child. He missed the first smiles, the first steps, the quiet moments new parents usually share. All he had were a few photos sent to him behind bars. He stayed locked up for almost a year. Then something strange happened. In August 2021, Taylor posted his bail, even though there was a no-contact order in place. Even after accusing him of threatening her life, she brought him back home. And just like that, they were a couple again. Friends and family were confused, hurt, angry. Why would he go back, they asked, after everything? But Terrell had his reasons. He missed his child. He wanted to be present. He thought maybe, just maybe, they could raise their baby in peace. But deep down, he was already making an exit plan. By December 2021, he had quietly started telling family members he was done. After the holidays, he planned to move out. He wanted to co-parent peacefully, focus on his kids, and leave the drama behind. But Taylor sensed the shift. She became more clingy, more emotional, more unpredictable. She started texting him constantly. Her messages flipped between pleading and threatening. One moment she'd say she couldn't live without him. The next, she warned him of what might happen if he left. Terrell tried to stay calm. He didn't want to fight. He just wanted to leave the right way. But Taylor wasn't going to let him go quietly. On December 20th, everything came to a head. They argued again. This time it was about his Christmas plans, where he would spend the holiday when he would see his other children. It wasn't a new fight, but that night it felt heavier, more serious, and neither of them knew it yet, but it would be the last argument they'd ever have. At around 9 p.m., neighbors inside a Columbia, South Carolina apartment complex heard raised voices. Terrell Sims and Taylor Wardlaw were arguing again. Louder this time, heated, tense. Inside the apartment, Terrell was packing a small bag. He had made up his mind. He wasn't going to wait until after the holidays. He told Taylor clearly and calmly that he was leaving that night. He wasn't angry. He was just done. He'd had enough of the fighting, the control, the threats. He wanted peace for himself and for his kids. He wanted out. But Taylor wasn't letting go. As Terrell turned his back to leave the bedroom, Taylor went into the kitchen. She opened the drawer and pulled out a gun. She followed him down the hallway, and then she pulled the trigger. The first shot hit Terrell in the shoulder. He spun around in shock, confused, trying to understand what was happening. The second shot missed, but the third struck him in the back as he turned to run. He collapsed in the bedroom. There was no struggle, no self-defense, no warning. Just a decision, fast, violent, final. Terrell fell to the floor, bleeding out, and Taylor didn't check if he was still alive. She didn't call for help. She didn't dial 911. She didn't try to save him. Instead, she reached for her phone and called someone else. His name was Eddie Youngster Brown, a man she'd known for a while, a man she'd kept in contact with, even while she was with Terrell. Phone records later showed that Taylor called Eddie 3 times in the span of 10 minutes. While Terrell lay dead in the next room, Taylor walked around the apartment cleaning. She grabbed paper towels and cleaning supplies. She wiped blood from the floor. She picked up shell casings. She removed Terrell's wallet, his phone, and most importantly, his ankle monitor. The monitor had been put on him months earlier when he was released from jail. It tracked his location 24/7. If it stayed still too long, it would alert authorities. So Taylor took it off quickly, before the signal could be flagged. Then she stood in front of the bathroom mirror and rehearsed the story she would later tell police. She practiced the tone, the timing, the words. He left after an argument. I haven't heard from him since. It was all part of a plan, and it was just getting started. Around midnight, Eddie Youngster Brown arrived at the apartment. Security footage from the building showed him walking in with an empty duffel bag. When he left, that same bag was heavy, slung over his shoulder, carefully zipped up. Inside it was Terrell's body. Taylor and Brown had wrapped him in plastic, tightly. Together, they carried him out of the apartment and into Brown's car. Quiet, quick, like they'd done it before. They drove through the cold night, heading out of the city. About 7 miles away, near Monticello Road, they found a stretch of woods, dense, dark, and barely traveled in winter. They carried Terrell's body down a steep slope near a creek, covered him with branches and leaves, did their best to make it look like no one had ever been there. Before leaving, they tossed his ankle monitor in a separate dumpster behind a gas station miles away. That was Taylor's idea, spreading the evidence, making it harder to trace. They weren't done yet. Before heading back into Columbia, they stopped at an all-night car wash. Brown sprayed down the inside and outside of the vehicle. Taylor wiped down surfaces. They worked like a team. Like this wasn't their first cover-up. They dumped the cleaning supplies, plastic wrap, and Terrell's personal items, his phone, his ID, everything, into separate trash bins across the city, pieces of evidence scattered miles apart. By sunrise, the job was done, and Terrell was gone. For 2 days, Taylor said nothing. No report, no concern, just silence. Then on December 22nd, 48 hours after the shooting, she walked into a police station in Columbia. She sat across from Officer James Mendez and said she wanted to report her boyfriend missing. She told him they had a small argument, that he walked out to cool off, that she hadn't heard from him since. She played the part perfectly. Worried, tired, teary-eyed. She even handed over her phone for officers to check, knowing she had already deleted her text with Brown. She mentioned Terrell's ankle monitor, said maybe it had malfunction. Maybe that's why no one had seen him. Mendez gave her a case number and told her the police would start looking. That's all she needed. Within hours, Taylor took her story public. She posted Terrell's photo on Facebook with the caption, "Please help me find my children's father. He would never just leave us." She went live on Instagram, crying, begging people to look for him. She tagged local news stations. She called friends. She shared old photos of them together. She begged the public to help, and they believed her. No one suspected the truth, that the woman leading the search already knew exactly where Terrell was, because she put him there. For nearly 2 weeks, Taylor Wardlaw's lie held strong. She posted updates. She cried in videos. She led search parties. But quietly, the investigation was closing in. It started with a review of Terrell's ankle monitor. When officers finally looked at the data, it was clear. The device stopped moving the night of December 20th, the same night neighbors heard yelling. There was no activity after 9 p.m., then the signal went dead. That wasn't a malfunction. That was the moment Terrell's life ended. Next, investigators pulled Taylor's phone records. Her GPS location told a very different story than the one she gave police. On the night she claimed to be home waiting for Terrell to return, her phone had actually pinged near Monticello Road, the same remote area where the body was eventually found. That raised a red flag, so detectives brought in the K-9 unit. They searched the wooded area near the ping location, and sure enough, about 200 yards into the trees, they found a shallow, makeshift grave. Under leaves and branches, they discovered Terrell's body. He had been shot multiple times. One of the bullets had entered through his back. This wasn't a fight. It wasn't self-defense. It was execution. The coroner confirmed it. The evidence couldn't be ignored, and neither could everything else the investigation uncovered. Text messages between Taylor and Eddie Brown were recovered. Some had been deleted, but forensic techs brought them back. In one message, Taylor told Brown, "We need to clean this up." Police found receipts for cleaning products purchased the same night as the murder. Surveillance footage from a car wash showed Taylor and Brown scrubbing the vehicle late at night when no one else was around. Even her internet search history betrayed her. She had Googled questions like, how long before a missing person is declared dead? How to clean blood from carpet? But the biggest blow came from someone close. Taylor's own friend, Jasmine Williams, came forward. She told police that Taylor called her the night of the murder. Panicked, breathing heavy. She said, "I shot him. Can you watch the baby?" Jasmine had kept quiet at first, scared, unsure. But once she heard Terrell's body had been found, she couldn't hold it in anymore. Other witnesses stepped forward too, neighbors who heard gunshots, a gas station worker who saw Brown cleaning the car. All the puzzle pieces were falling into place. Taylor's story was cracking, and now it was only a matter of time before it completely broke. On January 6, 2022, police knocked on the door of Taylor's mother's house. Taylor was inside packing suitcases. It looked like she was getting ready to leave town. She didn't cry. She didn't protest. She didn't say a word. She was calm, like she already knew the truth had caught up to her. Taylor Wardlaw was arrested and charged with murder. Eddie Youngster Brown was arrested the same day and charged as an accessory after the fact. At first, Taylor stuck to her story. She claimed self-defense, said Terrell had become aggressive, that she feared for her life. But the evidence told a different story, and there was a lot of it. The ankle monitor logs, the phone pings, the text messages, the internet searches, the video footage, the witness statements. Bit by bit, her story collapsed under the weight of the truth. For 2 years, the case made its way through South Carolina's court system. There were hearings, motions, delays. But by March 2024, Taylor's legal team knew they had no strong defense. So they approached prosecutors with a deal. Taylor agreed to plead guilty to first-degree murder. In exchange, the state dropped the extra charges, weapons possession, obstruction of justice, and offered her a fixed sentence, 20 years in prison. Under South Carolina law, she must serve at least 85% of her sentence. No early parole, no shortcuts. She will be behind bars for at least 17 years. As part of the deal, Taylor had to give a full confession and admit the killing was planned. She also had to give up her right to appeal. Eddie Brown had already taken his own plea deal, 5 years in prison for his role in covering up the crime, plus testifying against Taylor. At sentencing, Judge Maria Gonzalez looked Taylor in the eye and said, "You didn't just take a life. You tricked a city into mourning with you. You wore grief like a costume. That level of deception reveals a deep lack of conscience." And with that, the gavel came down. The case was closed. But the pain Terrell's family carried was just beginning. After Terrell's death, life changed forever for the people who loved him most. His 4 children were taken in by his twin sister, Marcella, and his mother. The youngest still asks when Daddy's coming home. The others are old enough to know the truth, but not old enough to understand why. Marcella has stepped up, not only as a caregiver, but as a voice for Terrell's legacy. She started a foundation to support children who have lost parents to violence. We want them to remember his voice, his laughter, his love, she said. Terrell's friends helped mix and release his music, the songs he recorded in that little closet studio. His voice now lives on, just like he hoped. Community members raised funds to support his kids. A trust was created and donations are still coming in. Strangers became supporters. Pain turned into purpose. Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if this story moved you, like, comment, and subscribe for more real stories that pull back the mask and shine a light on the truth. Don't just watch. Stay aware. Stay safe.